Hello and welcome to the Empowered Expat Wife podcast. If you moved abroad following your significant other and are looking to create a fulfilled life on your terms there, this is the place to be. I'm your host, Camilla Quintana, and I'm so excited to be on this journey with you and to inspire you to create the kind of life abroad you truly deserve. Hi everyone! I hope you're all doing well, and today I want to talk about love, Love, and more specifically about having a love affair abroad. Now, of course, it's not exactly what it sounds like, but rather about deeply connecting, embracing, and loving the most important person in your life. The one and only person that will be with you from the moment you're born until the moment you die. And that is, of course, you. So, having a love affair with yourself, how does that sound? How does it make you feel to even imagine that? But most importantly, why should you not love yourself deeply? And what will it cost you if you don't? If you don't truly love yourself, how will it affect the way you show up? The way you enter a room? The way you communicate? The way you dream, set goals, and pursue them? Or the way you deal with things that did not go as planned or as hoped? How will it affect your mental well-being, your physical health? How will it affect your partner, your children, your future? Loving ourselves is so important, not because we won't be able to experience love in our lives until we do. I know there are some people who think that. I personally think that even if your relationship with yourself is, tainted, you can still experience love. Yeah. Love by a person, by your person, by your child, through a beautiful experience like watching nature and cute animals, a heartwarming movie, for instance. These glimpses of what love feels like, this quality of love, they are available to all of us, and they're a good anchor point to know what kind of feeling we're looking for here. The more you become aware of it, the more you'll experience it in your life too, because that's the beauty of love. It grows exponentially, it multiplies. I noticed that with my 3 children. I remember when my second baby was born, I felt so guilty because I thought that I might not be able to love him as much as my first son, or that if I did, it would sort of take love away from my oldest. It's not like rational thinking, but emotional. This is how I felt. And now that I have 3 kids, I don't only love them all the same, I actually feel like I have more love to give in total. It's weird, but that's how I feel. And not only to them, but also to others, which is really cool because I look at others now through more maternal eyes, possibly. Each person, I figure, is somebody's child. Each person has a mom who loves them just as much and as unconditionally as I love my kids. So regardless of whether you have children or not, the power of love is available to all of us. And I firmly believe that when we look at something through the lens of love, we can find beauty anywhere. We can find connection, true, deep, authentic connection. We can find solutions and possibilities and opportunities that we would not see otherwise. And so what better place to start sort of planting these powerful seeds of love than inside of ourselves? And, to stick with this metaphor, water them and then have that love, that power, because that's really what it is. Like, I don't know why for some reason love has like this weak connotation, as in, oh, you are madly in love and you're not thinking straight, but really love is power. Love is healing power, right? Love can literally, like true love, it can literally overcome anything. And if that beautiful metaphor hasn't convinced you yet, let's think of practicalities. In our international lifestyle, we will feel lonely, right? We'll feel lonely because we don't know anyone. We'll feel lonely because we haven't found a close friend yet that we really resonate and can open up with. We'll feel lonely because we're different. We'll feel lonely when people back home can't really relate to us anymore, or we can't really relate to them and find our place there. Loneliness is more like a travel companion for us expats. But what makes it less scary and less unpleasant and less sad is having a solid relationship to ourselves. So, are you ready to start a love affair with yourself? Then let's dive right in. A love affair with ourselves is quite similar to starting one with a special someone, actually. So, first of all, you want to take time to really get to know yourself better and be very curious and inquisitive about it. You know, about 95% of our awareness is actually subconscious. So there will never come a point in a lifetime where we'll be able to say, okay, now I know it all about me. Check, I'm done. And also, think about it, who we are today is not who we'll be tomorrow or a year from now, right? We'll have new insights, we'll have new experiences, new circumstances. So this really is an ongoing journey with no final destination, and yet it's such an important journey to take. The more we know about ourselves, the more we can live a life that actually feels good to us and feels right. And the closer we can grow to ourselves. And especially when we move abroad, don't you know it? Stuff is bound to come up. I mean, a relocation often leaves a lot of space to be filled. This is how I like to look at it. Where you once had a job and your friends and your activities occupying the space, right? Now that you're starting over in a different country, there is some emptiness to fill. And usually, I think human beings are so great to just distract themselves from sitting with themselves, first of all, from sitting with their feelings, their thoughts, and especially in difficult times. But just because we distract ourselves, with people, with food, with filler projects, with whatever it is, TV, these things don't go away. These feelings, these thoughts, or needs that we're not looking at will somehow manifest, and quite possibly in an unhealthy way, since they couldn't come up in a healthy way, right? They couldn't get your attention in a healthy way. So they may really kind of break out in some area of your life in an unhealthy manner. So going back to the dating analogy, you would want your significant other to really show interest in you, right? You wouldn't want him or her to not listen when you speak, to look at this phone while you share something meaningful about yourself. That would be so rude. So do yourself a favor and also listen to whatever comes up within you, to what your heart is trying to tell you, what your body and your soul are trying to tell you. They're all connected. You are so valuable and so interesting that you just need to spend quality time with yourself, simply by sitting even with your unpleasant feelings and thoughts from time to time. Even if it's just 5 minutes, that's okay. But take this interest. And then number 2 is making yourself a priority. Asking questions like, what would I like to do? What truly feels good to me and what doesn't? You'd think we know that about ourselves, but so often we actually don't. We have so many shoulds and musts and can'ts in our life, obligations and to-do lists. Hey, stop for a minute and just check in with yourself to see if this actually feels good to you, or does it make you feel rather drained and frustrated? Does it steal energy and joy from other tasks and from other people? And what you'll do with this information is another thing, okay? You may not be able to stop doing certain things you dislike, like taking care of an elderly relative, working, changing diapers. I don't know, whatever it is for you. You may not be able to ditch those things completely, but just honoring how you truly feel about them, and then starting a dialogue, or a monologue actually, about what you could do to make these things that you don't like so much a little better, a little shorter maybe, a little more efficient. Could you delegate some things? Could you skip them at least from time to time? Could you say no next time? It's just something to think about. But I do believe that making ourselves a priority is very important, and contrary to what we are told, we've often been told, especially as women. But the way to look at it is really more about, what happens in an emergency on an airplane. They tell you, put your own oxygen mask on first, and then, you help others. It's not, put your own oxygen mask on and let the others die. No, it's just about being strategic. And you can show up in a much better way for others, for your family, for your children, for your friends, your coworkers, for the world, if you are well, if you're taking care of yourself. So I think this is really important. As is number 3, which is keeping the promises you made to yourself. Being a woman of your word makes you trustworthy to others, right? But it also makes you trustworthy to yourself. And remember, you are the most important and longest relationship in your life. So if you keep letting yourself down or make excuses for why you can't do what you've committed to doing for yourself, you will erode that trust. You'll weaken the relationship to yourself, and you'll also set a trend. So I'd love for you to take a little inventory about the promises you've made to yourself and haven't kept. Those New Year's resolutions, those diet plans every Monday, right? And on Tuesday, they're all forgotten. Or the times that you allowed other things to come in between your moments of self-care and you didn't even reschedule. It's better not to make big promises you can't keep, but small and sustainable ones. Number 4, another thing you can do to create this beautiful love affair with yourself is to talk to yourself with loving kindness. I mean, how would you like your crush or your love to talk to you? I'm thinking sweet words, words of love, of praise, of admiration, poetic love letters maybe, except I don't really think anyone still writes those, but you know what I mean. It's pretty clear, right? You probably also have a very clear idea of what they should not talk to you like and what would be a red flag in their behavior. But now let me ask you, what about how you talk to yourself? Do you have a harsh inner critic that just beats yourself up over the little mistakes you make, those imperfections? Do you constantly tell yourself you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, not pretty enough, not lovable enough? Imagine someone else were to tell you these things. That would really hurt, right? And just because you may have gotten used to talking to yourself in a strict or in a critical tone, that doesn't make it okay. That doesn't make it less painful. In fact, it's even more painful because at least you can break up with that rude freak or you can distance yourself from that, critical friend, but you can't exactly break up and leave yourself. So I think you really owe it to yourself to be nice, to be kind and compassionate as much as possible. Also, knowing that no one here is perfect, no one does it all right. And what seems like that sometimes in others is just what it seems. It's not even the truth. And I speak to so many women very openly about, very personal things. And I can tell you that while, they're all amazing, my clients, my friends, they're all amazing women. They have so much to give. They have so much to offer. But none of them is perfect. None of them is without insecurities, without shortcomings. But everyone, including you, is here for a reason. And the fact that you exist is such a miracle, let me tell you, honestly. Regardless of your religious or your spiritual beliefs, you are no coincidence. Just imagine everything that had to happen for us to be living on this planet in this universe, for it to be, 2021 at the time of this recording, and for you to be born to that specific set of parents in a specific environment. I mean, when you think about it, it's like, wow, what a miracle. I am, and we all are. So please try and remember that the next time you are a little rude with yourself. And just ask, would I go out on a date with someone like me? Someone who treats me like I do? I really hope the answer is yes. And if it's not, then you need to work on that, because you need to be the most dateable, most lovable person for yourself. Which leads me to the fifth step, which is take yourself out on a date. That feels so good. I'm at a point in my life where I just love to go somewhere all by myself. I mean, it's not that I don't want to go with my loved ones. It's just that I have so many thoughts. I have so many ideas that I want to bring to life. I have so much going on. And I just really appreciate more time and more solitude to sit with all of this. The other day, I decided to take myself out on a date. And I do that from time to time, but obviously, since Corona, it was a bit different, a bit difficult. So I got dressed up. I put my high heels on. They had, by the way, been the most affected by COVID-19. I think they'd been the most lonely. I got my book, one of the books I'm reading. And I treated myself to a lovely 3-course menu in a beautiful restaurant here by the beach. A glass of wine, dessert. It was lovely. It was energizing. And it felt like an act of love to myself, an act of self-care. So what's something special that you could do with yourself? I want you to schedule that into your calendar, and please make it special. Like a trip to the grocery store doesn't count. It needs to be something intentional. All right, so next up, love letters. Lovers may not write them anymore, but you can. And I don't want you to write a love letter to yourself because that's kind of cheesy. But what if you wrote a love letter to one part of yourself, one aspect of yourself that you had a hard time accepting? Let me tell you, this is such a beautiful exercise, and I'd love for you to do this in writing. What we really, really want so desperately is for other people or for that special someone to love us with our flaws. We don't want our significant others to hold our shortcomings against us, right? We actually would love to have them accept us, not despite of them, but because of them even. That would feel so good. And you know what? We can do that for ourselves. So if you address this aspect of yourself that you dislike or you're not so proud of, you can ask yourself, what good has come from it? What is a benefit of this particular shortcoming of mine? Maybe you're impatient and easily stressed, but that makes you a very efficient worker and it makes you always show up on time. Maybe you're a perfectionist, but that makes you pay special attention to details that no one else pays attention to. Or maybe you have this beauty flaw that has made you more compassionate, less superficial. To every downside, there is an upside. You just need to find it. And then you can thank that part of you, that shadow part of you, for what it's done. Gratitude and appreciation, even in just very small doses, enable acceptance and surrender. And those are all just beautiful states to be in that really will foster having a great relationship to yourself and a beautiful love affair with yourself. Then number 7 is healthy choices. I heard that in one of the courses I'm taking, and it was kind of like a meditation thing going on at that time. And what they said was, I deserve to eat healthy food that nourishes my body. And let me tell you, I was kind of taken aback because a sentence starting with, I deserve to eat, right? It would typically finish with, I deserve to eat that dessert. I deserve to have that glass of wine. It would kind of be, something that's actually not healthy. Even though, I love my veggies. I love healthy food. I'm almost vegetarian, I guess. But my mind just wouldn't go to that. I don't know how you see that. I would love to know, but of course you can't answer me right now. The truth is that sometimes what instinctively can feel like we're doing something good to ourselves, right? Eating that cake, watching another hour of TV, not working out, not doing this and that, is actually the unhealthy choice. And as an act of self-love, we should always opt for the healthy choice, the healthiest choice for our minds and our bodies. So, what is that for you? Where are you not making healthy choices that may feel good? They may even feel like you are taking care of yourself, but really you're not. And then last but not least, let's talk about boundaries. Boundaries, by definition, are sort of an imaginary line between yourself and others. Through boundaries, we can assign responsibilities and we can regulate what's okay and what's not okay, emotionally, physically, etc. They kind of show us where we end and where another person begins, so that you don't take responsibility for what's actually theirs, their bad mood, their limiting beliefs, their insecurity. It's a line that shouldn't be crossed. Now, when we don't set good boundaries, it will often come to the detriment of our mental or physical health. And it may actually negatively affect our relationships because we may grow resentful and frustrated with certain people, avoid them, and then end up hurting them. And the funny thing is that often we don't have good boundaries in place because we do not want to hurt others. We do not want to say no. We do not want to tell them the truth about how we feel about, a project or a get together, whatever it is. But really, when we don't, we're not doing ourselves or the other person or our relationship to that person any service at all. Now, the good news is that setting healthy boundaries really starts inside of us. It's first and foremost an inner process that you then communicate or signal to the outside world, but it starts with you. And that is great news because it means you're not a victim. You're not helplessly stuck. You don't depend on others to change their behavior in order for you to get the respect that you deserve and that you want for yourself. So I have a 4-step process for setting healthy boundaries without pissing anyone off necessarily, because that's often a fear, right? And it's not necessary. And that's something I discuss with my clients in more detail, and it would kind of exceed the scope of this episode. But I can always share the resource about this 4-step process with you. So if you are interested, you can email me info@camillaquintana.com or message me on social media. And you just say boundaries, please, and I'll send that over. But for now, I just want you to become aware of which people, which interactions make you feel kind of hung over in the aftermath, because that may be a really good indicator that your boundaries have been crossed by yourself or by the other person, right? If you feel frustrated or drained or resentful after certain encounters, after certain phone calls, after certain interactions, pay attention to that and dig a little deeper. What about it made you feel that way? Is it something they said or they did? Or is it something you didn't say or do? Get curious. Self-awareness is, again, the key to better boundaries, better self-love, and it's always the way to go. You know me, self-awareness is always the way to go. All right, so with this, we've reached the end of this episode. There are still some things I could talk about when it comes to having a love affair with yourself, but now I would love for you to tell me, what did you think of these ideas? Which ones are you going to implement in your life? Where do you need to take some loving action? And where are you already doing really well, having this really good relationship to yourself? Let me know. You can email me. You could head over to social media at coach.camillaquintana and let me know what comes up for you. I would love to know. I love receiving your messages, by the way. They make me so happy. And now I just send you a lot of love, and I'll be back with you next Thursday. Thank you so much for listening. Please make sure to share this episode with your expat besties and show me some love in the reviews. Want more juicy content designed for expat wives? Then head over to my website, www.camillaquintana.com, or follow me on Instagram and Facebook at coach.camillaquintana.